and deliver us from evil. Amen. You'll bring up the flag there, Mr. Gertz. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May we have our council member roll call, please?
Mr. Powell?
Here.
Mr. Gertz?
Here.
Mr. Lynn?
Here.
Mr. Albrecht?
Here.
Mr. Lindeman?
He's on mute.
I saw him.
There you go.
There we go.
All right, there you go.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Fischescher?
Here.
Mrs. Edichico?
Here.
Okay. I think we have one resolution. Would you go ahead and read our first reading of this resolution?
Resolution retaining the law firm of, I believe it's Strauss, Troy Company LPA to initiate legal action on behalf of Reading against the Reading Community City School District to enforce the requirements of Ordinance 2017-12.
Make a motion to suspend the second and third reading.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Lynn, second by Mr. Fischescher.
Albrecht?
No.
Oh, Mr. Albrecht, to suspend the rule that requires a second and third reading. Roll call, please.
Mr. Powell?
Abstain because of conflict of interest.
Mr. Gertz?
Yes.
Mr. Lynn?
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht?
Yes.
Mr. Lindeman?
Yes.
Mr. Fischescher?
No.
And Mrs. Edichico?
No.
That motion did not pass, so this is a first reading of the resolution, and we will read it next week also. And it looks like we have one ordinance that needs to be. Go ahead. Comment?
Yes. Am I on?
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Gertz.
Next week, when it's read, I'd like to see the whole thing read by its entirety if we can, instead of just the title.
Okay. I don't have a problem with that. Okay, reading of our ordinance.
An ordinance to make appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures for the city of Reading, state of Ohio, during the period ending December 31st, 2020.
Motion to suspend the rule requiring a second and third reading.
I'll second.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Fischescher, seconded by Mr. Powell.
Comment?
Was it Powell?
I
Yeah.
think myself
Okay.
and Katie got it at the same time.
Okay.
Either way.
To suspend the rule, it requires a second and third reading. Roll call.
I had a well, go ahead. I had a comment, but go ahead.
Comment or?
Roll call.
Okay. Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Gertz?
No.
Mr. Lynn?
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht?
Yes.
Mr. Lindeman?
Yes.
Mr. Fischescher?
Yes.
Mrs. Edichico?
Yes.
That motion passed. Any motion to go ahead with your comment, Mr. Gertz.
Yeah, I read over it quickly today, and I had a lot of questions. I'm sorry I couldn't get to it sooner. I was busy, and there's some issues I thought we ought to explore before we voted on this to adopt it. There's nothing in here about the FEMA fund. There were some questions about other monies that I saw. And I wanted to investigate the stadium fund, a little more detail. So I haven't had time, and I thought maybe I would.
Go ahead, keep going.
Service director, I realize we can't meet officially, but I guess I could call you at the office, have a conference call with the finance committee, I had hoped, but those are my comments.
Okay, any other comments? Any motion to adopt?
I'll make the motion to adopt.
I'll second.
Motion made by Mr. Fischer, seconded by Mr. Lynn to adopt the appropriations. I guess they're the preliminary current expenses. Roll call?
Mr. Powell,
yes,
Mr. Gertz,
No.
Mr. Lynn,
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht,
Yes.
Mr. Lindeman,
Yes.
Mr. Fisher,
Yes.
Mrs. Edichico.
yes,
That motion passed. Ordinance is adopted. Ordinance number?
2020-16.
2020-16.
Yes, 16.
Are there any other comments? Anyone wants to make a mention of anything? Go ahead, Mr. Ross.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to give an update on the, where we're at financially.
You're
whenever-
next. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Kurtz.
Yeah, as of close of business today, we have collected $567,530. So at this point in the month, as compared to last year, we are running $153,571 behind. So I feel that the individual income tax collections will be able to make up as we move forward through July 15th. Withholding, we're not sure about, as we have talked in the past. Last year, we took in a total of what was it? It was like 1.3 million in April. So we've got a long way to go yet here, but we still have a couple of weeks to collect. So I'll keep everybody posted.
Okay.
That's all I've got.
Okay, Mr. Ross.
On that note, Mel, the last time we talked, we hadn't heard from Thermo Fisher or Patheon. They did respond yesterday. He said that they're continuing to run production as an essential employer. Their on-site staff, they've reduced as much as possible so they can work at home. And they anticipate to operate this way. So they've had no reductions up at Patheon or Thermo Fisher.
Correct.
So we just got that yesterday.
So that's fair. That's a positive piece of news that we got. So
Yeah. And I just wanted to, one thing about the appropriation, this appropriations was made as if, sorry, I don't know if I have the video on because I was looking through email.
You're fine.
As if there's nothing going on in the outside world, if that makes sense. So, I mean, appropriations obviously can be adjusted at any point during the year, increase, decrease. This amount was the 86,000 less than what the county, our total amount is 8.875. This was for general fund. So, I mean, there very well could have to be changes to this appropriations depending on the length of this and, what goes on in the next couple months. But just making you aware, this is as if we don't have to make any adjustments to staffing levels or operations or anything like that. So just as an FYI.
Are we applied for the keeping everyone working and getting reimbursed by the government for that? Do we
Yeah,
qualify?
since we declared an emergency, there's several things. I mean, any kind of reimbursement we can get, you have to pretty much declare an emergency to get any reimbursement, but we're keeping track of those things. Yes, Chris.
Okay, and that money probably won't come for a long time.
Yeah, I haven't been around for federal reimbursement, but from what anecdotally people have said, it's usually a couple years before you get reimbursed any of those funds.
So that's not really going to help us in the short term. So.
Not in the short term. We will be getting,
Are we gonna get refunded workers' comp?
yeah, that email came out. The amount, it said 100% of the premium from, I think it said 2018.
Yeah,
I
that's
could-
correct, 2018.
2018. Yeah. So it's 100% of that amount, and I don't have that in front of me, but I know it's more than 150,000. It might be even more than that. So, in the past, when we did get those, because we have gotten some rebates from workers' comp because they have a big surplus, those have usually come July, August. So I don't know if they'll expedite that this year. It didn't say when to expect it, but I am expecting to get, that amount back. So anywhere from 150 to 200,000. And Don, I saw an email from Sabrina about the, yeah, I keep putting it up to my face like I'm talking on the phone. We haven't gotten the MSD easement money yet. So
I was wondering about, would they be able to expedite that, or is this coming at the end? I'm not really
I placed a call to the
when
Tony
you're
Dick. He's the right-of-way guy who was at the meetings. If you remember Tony, he was the older gentleman, not old, but you know what older than the young kid.
Right, Gertz.
So I placed a call to him this afternoon. So I'll talk to him when he returns my call or emails me back.
That was exactly my reason why I wanted to hold up the appropriate. Am I on?
Yes, you are.
That's exactly, I wanted to hold up the appropriation so I could find out what kind of money we're going to have. We got 2 more weeks. We could have passed on this, and it concerns me. We're appropriating everything that's been approved by the Budget Commission, and I agree that we can't amend, but I don't want to give anybody working for the city or anybody that's looking at the appropriation that we have those funds. I'm very concerned that we're not going to generate 1.8, whatever it was, $7.8 million into the general fund this year. I was hoping to see more of that and have a better explanation in some places in the appropriation where we might want to consider ahead of time, where we would start to consider areas that might not be fully funded or partially, reduced at this time. So that's my point. So go ahead. It's already passed.
And we can take care of it as it comes up, I guess. I understand your point, though. Anything else from anyone?
Chris,
Mr. Dave.
Yeah, I got
Mr. Stevenson.
my hands up.
Mr. Stevenson. Okay. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna be really short. We're gonna file the appeal and a motion for stay on the Duke Pipeline Corridor Plan this week. Blue Ash is taking care of the filing, so I know they're running around getting permits, but that's where we are right now.
Dave, can you explain what I saw all those filings by Duke and Blue Ash? What was that? Did you see that today?
It was their city administrator not communicating with their lawyer.
Because the way I read it was like, hey, here's their approved.
I think the only thing that they've approved so far is a boring plan across Lake Forest Drive. So
that's why before I did anything, I went to you, Dave. I was like, I'm not going to sign off on their curb or street cuts until you give me the okay.
Look, the bottom line is the court may deny the stay, and if the court denies the stay, then we'll have to deal with the permits.
Okay. So we'll wait till the next court hears our argument then.
That's right.
Okay.
Mr. Fisher.
Yeah, I'm assuming everybody saw the email from Patrick, but since this is public, I would like to congratulate Brian Edens on becoming our new police chief. I think he'll do an excellent job, and I've already sent him an email, and we're going to be getting together next week to kind of see how things are going.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I told Brian that once we can get back to having a regular meeting, we would do kind of a ceremonial swearing in, and he can meet all you guys in person. And he can have his family there and whatnot. So I don't know when that'll happen, but I did tell him, once, we get back to normal, that we'd have him in, and he's already been sworn in, but kind of do a ceremonial swearing in with council present. So, and I do want to thank Darren Lunsford, Lieutenant Lunsford, who's been the acting chief. He he had this is a wild time to be an acting chief for. He's had a interesting last 3-4 months, with everything going on in the outside world and then internally. So I just want to thank him for, manning the ship for the time being.
That's great. Anything else from anyone?
Chris,
Yes, Don.
Chris,
Don,
can
yes.
you hear me?
Yes. Yes, we can hear you, Don.
Chris,
Go, Don.
I'm sorry, but everything is breaking up. I'm getting I'm not getting the whole sentence, and a lot of times the video stops.
Do you have,
I don't know if
Yeah.
everybody else is having any kind of problems like that, but
do you have dial-up
this is
at
not
your
a
house?
good council meeting for me to be able to see and hear.
Do you have dial-up connection at home?
Does dial-up exist anymore?
That's
Yeah,
what
it
I
does.
was wondering.
It does.
It might be your Wi-Fi connection, Don.
It says your network bandwidth is low. What does that mean?
That's your
That's
Wi-Fi.
you have a slow internet
So it's me.
connection to your house.
Who do you get it through? Time Warner?
No, it's fiber optics.
Next time, go over to Chris's house and sit in a different room. I'm just kidding.
You're actually
guys are
close enough. You could probably get on my my router. So, but I'm sorry, Don, about that. I don't know what else I can do for you, though.
He can bring me 8 bottles of wine to
if-
my house.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
there you go.
That would be against social distance.
Tony's always solving
We
problems.
can stay 6 feet apart.
You might have to sit closer to where your router is, Don. Or get
Yeah,
a
that beach you're on is
Yeah.
probably
Oh,
not
I
close
see.
enough. So,
Yeah, I feel real sorry for you sitting by the pool as you are.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The router's 1 floor down. Maybe that's the problem.
Yeah.
It could be.
Yeah, the floors definitely are a problem, especially if they're not directly below you. You get floors and walls blocking. So you might want to move down to your basement hookup.
Just run an Ethernet cord.
Okay.
All
I was
right.
kind of hoping it was everybody, but I guess I have to fix me.
Anything else? Then this meeting is adjourned. Thank you
Thanks,
very much.
Chris.
See
Thanks,
you in a week.
ICRC. Thanks, ICRC, for doing this.
Stay
Thanks,
soft,
Patrick.
stay
you.
safe. Thanks, IRC.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys. Have a wonderful night.
Bye-bye.
All right, guys. We'll see ya.